Control Authority meeting, and the first item on our agenda is a public hearing setting the sewer service fees and rates. Public hearing has been scheduled to allow interested citizens an opportunity to express their opinions regarding the proposed sewer service fees and rates for fiscal year 2017-2018. And may we have roll call, please?
Here.
Commissioner Bosco. Commissioner Sakala.
Here.
Commissioner Davis. Commissioner Denny.
Here.
Commissioner Edgar.
Here.
Commissioner Falk.
Here.
Chairman Copen.
Here?
Vice Chairman Lee.
Here.
Commissioner Ludwig. Commissioner Suzak.
Here.
There are 8 commissioners present and 3 are absent.
The following notice of public hearing was published in the Hartford Courant Tuesday, May 9th, 2017. Town of Enfield legal notice public hearing. The Enfield Town Council, acting as the Water Pollution Control Authority, will hold a public hearing in the Enfield Town Hall Council Chambers, 820 Enfield Street, Enfield, Connecticut, on Monday, May 15th, 2017, at 6:50 p.m. to allow interested citizens an opportunity to express their opinions regarding the proposed sewer service fees and rates for fiscal year 2017-2018. Ground rules of the public hearing are as follows. 1, there is no time limit, but I ask that each person not take up too much time so that everyone will have an opportunity to speak. 2, after each person who desires has had one chance to speak, I shall permit those individuals who desire a second chance. 3, after those individuals who desire to speak a second time, I shall permit those individuals who desire a third, fourth, etc. time, and we ask that you please refrain from the use of personalities. Brian, do you have a recap for, I know they're staying the same, and then we'll open it up for the public hearing?
Sure. In summary, the hearing tonight is procedural in nature in advance of the actual adoption of the rates. The rates as proposed for the authority to act upon are the rates which have remained the same the last 4 years, I believe. This is the 5th year of the pledge from the authority to the community with respect to the consistency of the rates at the time of adoption when the system came from an ad valorem-based format to a fee-based format. Just very briefly, the rates as they currently they sit for the residential users, any usage below 20,000 is 20,000 gallons is 3.39 cents per 1,000 gallons, and anything above 20,000 is the $5.08 per 1,000 gallon rate. But like I said, these are the consistent rates that the town has continued to utilize over the last 4 years.
Thank you. So for this public hearing, is there anyone in the audience wishing to address the Water Pollution Control Authority on this public hearing? Anyone in the audience going to? Anyone in the audience for a third time? Sensing none, I will close the public hearing. And we can move directly. Can we move directly to water? No, we got to wait till 7 for water pollution because that's the posted time. So we have to recess for 5 minutes.
Motion to recess.
By Vice Chairman Lee, seconded by Commissioner Falk. By show of hands, all those in favor of recessing for 5 minutes. We'll be back in session at 7. to order, and we have, I don't believe we have minutes. Do we have minutes? No, we don't. They're not appended. So the one item that we have under the water pollution control is actually an items for discussion item. So can I please have a motion to move item for discussion A, to move it to miscellaneous, please?
So moved.
By Counselor Suzak, seconded by Counselor Edgar. Any discussion? Show of hands, all those in favor? Those opposed? Unanimous. So we move to the one item that we have, and that's a resolution setting the sewer use charge rate for the 2017-2018 billing. Resolution reads as follows: whereas in accordance with Chapter 103, Section 7-255 of the Connecticut General Statutes, the Enfield Sewer Authority held a public hearing on May 15th, 2017 at 6:50 PM in the council chamber of the Town Hall, 820 Enfield Street, Enfield, Connecticut, hearing comments on the proposed 2017-2018 sewer service fee schedule. Therefore, be it resolved, the Enfield Sewer Authority does hereby adopt the sewer service fee schedule attached hereto as Attachment A.
So moved.
By Commissioner
Second.
Arnone, second by Commissioner Sakala. Do we have any discussion? Sensing none, roll call, please.
Commissioner Arnone,
4.
Commissioner Sakala,
4.
Commissioner Denny,
4.
Commissioner Edgar,
4.
Commissioner Falk, Chairman Copen,
4.
Vice Chairman Lee,
4.
Commissioner Suzak. 4. 8 in favor, none against, and no abstentions.
And may I have a motion to adjourn the Water Pollution Control Authority by Commissioner Falk, seconded by Commissioner Suzak. By a show of hands, all those in favor, those opposed, we are adjourned. We will move right into the regular meeting of the Enfield Town Council, Monday, May 15th, 2017. Would ask everyone in the audience to please stand for a prayer led by Councilor Tom Arnone, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
This will be in honor of Mother's Day. Dear God, bless our moms. Grant them strength, health, joy, grace, laughter, and hope. Thank you for all that you have sacrificed for your family. Thank you for your unconditional love and commitment in raising us as children. You are loved and cherished, one and all. Amen. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Tom. And may we have roll call, please?
Counselor Arnone,
Here.
Counselor Bosco, Counselor Sakala,
Here.
Counselor Davis, Counselor Denny,
Here.
Counselor Edgar. Here. Counselor Falk.
Here.
Mayor Copen,
Here.
Deputy Mayor Lee,
Here.
Counselor Ludwig, Counselor Suzak.
Here.
8 members present, 3 are absent.
For our fire evacuation announcement, just remind folks in the audience that in the event that the fire alarm sounds here at Town Hall, we all must evacuate the building. Closest exit would be to the rear of council chambers and out to the front of Town Hall. If you choose to take the side door to your right or left, we then ask that you take the back set of stairs to the back parking lot of Town Hall. And in the event that an AED is needed, there is one located on this floor in the main lobby. Minutes of the preceding meetings, we have 3. First is the special meeting, April 27.
Motion to approve?
By Counselor Denny, seconded by Counselor Falk. Any discussion? Sensing none, show of hands. All those in favor? Those opposed? Unanimous. A regular meeting, May 1st,
So moved.
by Counselor Arnone.
Second.
Seconded by Counselor Falk. Discussion? Show of hands. All those in favor? Those opposed? Any abstentions? Unanimous. And special meeting, May 3rd,
So moved.
by
Second.
Counselor Arnone, seconded by Counselor Falk. Discussion. Show of hands, all those in favor? Those opposed? Any abstentions? 1 abstention. All right. We now move to our special guest section and would ask the council to come out front and to invite up Chief Gary Womokley from Enfield EMS for an EMS Week proclamation. Hello, Chief. Welcome, welcome. So we have a proclamation, and I'll read the proclamation first, and then Gary, I'll hand the microphone over to you, and you can give us any updates on Enfield EMS. But we do have a proclamation declaring May 21st through the 27th, 2017, as Emergency Medical Services Week, and the proclamation reads as follows. Whereas the residents of Enfield rely on emergency medical service systems to help them in their hour of greatest need. And whereas EMS workers provide crucial pre-hospital medical care to fellow citizens at the most imperative times. And whereas we take comfort in knowing that well-trained, caring men and women are only a phone call away from treating injuries sustained in a car crash, responding to a cardiac emergency, or helping a child with asthma breathe easier. And whereas when accidents and illnesses strike unexpectedly, EMS personnel are the first on the scene, and their timely actions often make the difference between life and death. And whereas EMS technicians, paramedics, and first responders devote countless hours to keeping their communities safe. And whereas EMS agencies are an integral part of our nation's health security strategy, and they help to build community resilience by strengthening all aspects of the emergency response system. Now, therefore, I, Scott Copen, Mayor of the Town of Enfield, on behalf of the Town Council, the Town Administration, and the entire community, do hereby proclaim May 21st through 27th, 2017, Emergency Medical Services Week, while recognizing the inspiring contributions of our EMS practitioners and honor their dedication to serving their town and fellow citizens. Signed today, May 15th, 2017. Chief, on behalf of the Town of Enfield, to you and to all your men and women, thank you very much for the service that you provide to our community.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council, and I appreciate the citizens that are here this evening. I'm proud to represent the men and women of Enfield EMS, the Enfield Fire Districts, as well as the Enfield Police Department. Enfield is unique, and every community likes to believe they're unique, and certainly Enfield is, because of the wide array of people that respond when someone has a medical emergency. All hours of the day or night, this community is well covered with innumerable dedicated personnel who are there to serve, and they're glad to serve, and they strive to not just do a good job, but to be the best they can, and not just in Enfield, but the state and the region. So I'm proud to represent them, and thank you very much for this proclamation. It's greatly appreciated.
And council stays up here because we have one more. Oh, Gary. Gary, here's the cover. That one. All right. So next, I would like to call up Mary Scott and I'm going to get the official name of the group wrong, but it's the citizens group that's supporting our police department. So you can come on up for a proclamation. They're also going to give a presentation afterwards. Okay. So this is Mary, and Mary Scott, and Mary, you're leading the organization, which is officially called?
The Friends of the Enfield Police Department.
All right, Friends of the Enfield Police Department. And your colleague is?
Allison Sicosio.
Hello, Allison. Welcome. Okay, so we have a proclamation designating May 14th through May 20th as National Police Week. Whereas May 14th through May 20th is designated as National Police Week, And whereas May 15th is designated as Peace Officers Memorial Day in honor of all fallen officers and their families. And whereas the men and women of the Enfield Police Department are among the approximately 900,000 law enforcement officers serving in communities across our nation. And whereas when accidents or criminal acts occur, law enforcement officers are first on the scene, and their actions provide comfort and protection to residents in their time of need. And whereas the residents of Enfield rely on the brave men and women of the Enfield Police Department to serve and protect our community. And whereas law enforcement officers endure long shifts in dangerous and unpredictable circumstances to provide safety and security to all of our residents. And whereas we take comfort in knowing that well-trained, caring men and women are willing to put themselves in harm's way to keep us safe. And whereas it is important that all citizens know and understand the problems, duties, and responsibilities of their police department, and that members of our police department recognize their duty to serve the people by safeguarding life and property, protecting them against violence or disorder, and shielding the innocent against deception, oppression, and intimidation. Now, therefore, I, Scott Copen, Mayor of the Town of Enfield, on behalf of the Town Council, the Town Administration, and the entire community, designate May 14th through May 20th as National Police Week and commemorate police officers, past and present, who by their faithful and loyal devotion to their responsibilities have rendered a dedicated service to their communities and established for themselves an enviable and enduring reputation for preserving the rights and security of all citizens. Signed today, May 15th. Mary, Allison, thanks for being here. You're going to take this back to the police department. So here's the proclamation for you. And then, and here's the cover, and we know you're going to speak. So we're going to, instead of having you speak from here, we'll have you go to the table. We'll go back here, and we'll hear about what the Friends of the Enfield Police Department are doing here in Enfield. So thank you for being here. Do you want to join at the table? We can pull a chair up. All right. Welcome.
Thanks. Good evening. My name is Mary Scott, and I am the president of the Friends of the Enfield Police Department. I wanted to come here tonight and just talk to you a little bit about our organization. The main purpose of our group is to promote and support positive interactions between the community and the Enfield Police Department. In order to accomplish this, we will be supporting our officers and community by having meetings monthly where residents can learn more about how the police department functions. We also have events where residents can learn more about certain issues that are affecting our communities, such as heroin overdoses, specific crime in certain areas of town, internet scams, so on and so forth. We are also looking to partner with businesses and residents to build a memorial at the Enfield Police Station. This memorial will honor officers killed in the line of duty, as well as retired officers who have served our community over the years. I actually have a drawing, if you guys want to take a look at it, so you can see what it looks like. I can bring it up to.
Sure.
Do you want to? And I'll do that side and you can do this side. This is a preliminary drawing of the memorial. It's kind of what we're trying to work towards. And basically, we hold meetings the fourth Wednesday of every month. Our next meeting will be May 24th at the Enfield Police Station at 7 p.m. And we hope members of our community will come out and join us and learn more about what we're doing and help build our organization. We obviously saw earlier the proclamation recognizing this week as National Police Week and today as Peace Officers Memorial Day. And our organization is just asking for our fellow residents to just say thank you to a police officer this week. We also have done some cards from children in the community as well as many adults, and on behalf of the Friends of the Enfield Police Department, which we'll be delivering to our officers, to say thank you, just a note of appreciation to them as well. And we just want the council and our community to know all about the organization, and if they want to get involved, then come on out to a meeting. Later this week, we will have our new updated Facebook page up and running, and it'll be under the Friends of the Enfield Police Department Incorporated. So if people would like to join that way, we also have an email address, which I have, let me find it quickly. It's in my stuff here. Right? It's tfoepdi@gmail.com. So if anybody has any questions or would like to know more about our meetings, then you're welcome to email us. And that's it. Any questions from the
Can you
council?
give that one more time, Mary? The email address?
tfoepdi@gmail.com.
All right.
Okay?
Questions, comments for the Friends? Anyone? So, first of all, thanks for organizing and putting this support group together. Today is a very appropriate day to be talking to the council and to the public. Many of us know that we had about a half a dozen officers who just completed the ride to Washington, D.C. that recognizes at the end the fallen officers. Heard a statistic today that in a write-up I received, on average, about 160 law enforcement officers are killed in the line of duty over the course of a year across the country. The number, I believe, this year was 143. And so it really drives home the point that although we see them out on the streets every day, you might wave hi or they'll pass you through a construction zone or whatever, that they're also performing a very dangerous job. And we appreciate the work that they do day in and day out. Often we take them away from their family and friends because the police department staff 24/7, 365 days a year, and it's a tough job. And we also know that last year was a real tough year, and that some officers started questioning whether the public at large actually support the work that they do. And but your group and your efforts show that, at least here in Enfield, and I think it's common across the country where we only hear of the bad, but that communities by and large support the men and women of the police departments, and you folks are taking it one step farther. And actually to be able to undertake the efforts to build this, and I know this has been a dream of Carl, our Chief Saraza, to have a recognition on the grounds of the police department on Elm Street. So just thank you for promoting the good work that law enforcement does. They need the linkage with the community to understand that the community cares. And then you're taking it one step farther and you're honoring those that in the end, paid the ultimate sacrifice in the line of duty. And so thank you on behalf of the town.
Thank you.
And we look forward to hearing great things. Any ending comments?
You want to say anything?
Hi, I'm Bill Fournier. I'm the chairman of the board of directors of the group. It's a group in its infancy, and of course, we're looking for more members all the time. We'll be speaking in the near future to the Senior Citizen Center group, and I would encourage any of you who have the time and the ability to get out and take a ride-along with an officer at some point and see firsthand what the job is really like. It's a tough row to hoe out there.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your recognition.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. And your next meeting again is May 24th?
May 24th, Wednesday, 7 PM at the Enfield Police Department.
And all are welcome to
All are
attend.
welcome. Absolutely.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Would you like your renderings back? Sure. Yes. Great, thank you, Mary. And our last but not least, our final special guest, we have Jim Taylor from the Building Department. Jim, come on up. You're listed under special guest, so
I feel special.
we're glad to have you.
So, first I'd like to just let you know that the International Code Council has designated the month of May as Building Safety Month. And they promote safety in the built environment through that month.
So do you have a presentation for us, or?
Oh, I thought maybe this was going to be questions and answers, but I could certainly make a presentation if you like. It's
So it's up, the manager, how do you want this to run, Brian?
So, and I apologize, Jim, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but the intent tonight was to kind of have you just talk to council with respect to the view permit process and how's that going, and some of the benefits that you've realized through the use of view permit, and some of the things yet that still have to come online, but you're intending to come online.
So that was what I expected. I didn't know if it was going to be you had questions for me or if you wanted me to just make a little presentation.
Give us an update on view
Okay.
permit and that.
We adopted the View Permit program, which is for building permit processing and issuing, back in the fall of 2015. It was first initiated on our permit counter, just in our office, as a kind of a trial run, a test run, with the public there being assisted by our permit technicians. And as of January 1st, or the first business day in January, we went to online permitting, where all of our customers can process or apply for building permits and all the other trade permits like plumbing, electric, sprinklers, and so forth, right online. They can use a credit card to pay for it. They don't have to visit the office. They can upload all of their supporting documentation. It's in like a PDF format. They can attach it right to their application and submit it all with a push of the button on a computer. We also have the ability to correspond with them through the view permit process for additional information that we might need, or documents that were not submitted with the initial application. And the process of collecting the fees is done through the PayPal system, using either a credit card or an individual or company's PayPal account. We process somewhere around 2,500 permits a year. So far, to the end of April, we've processed about 1,900 permits. And anyone who signs up with an account, such as the contractors, this is where it's beneficial for them, they establish an account with their email address and a password, and they can apply for permits using that same account in not just Enfield, but any of the other 18 or so towns that are part of the View Permit CROG program. So they only have to set up the one account. And the same thing for homeowners. So there's a number of different categories where you have businesses, contractors, homeowners, and so forth that can set up the style of account that they need for the permits that they're going to apply for.
Questions, comments from the council? Tom?
Yeah, I'm not sure if you were there or not, but at the high school building, the dedication, you got a shout out by the chairman, Randy Daigle, is thanking you for all the hard work between the building committee and building the Enfield High School, and how smooth it was, and what a great opportunity it was for him, to get to know you and work through the the whole process. So just wanted to let you know, because I know you weren't there that day. I did look for you, but so you could hear it from him, which was very nice.
Thank you. It's good to hear.
Yes.
I'll pass that on to my
Great job.
staff.
Please do.
Any other questions? Go
yeah,
ahead, Bill.
So what's next with View Permit? I know that there was kind of a series of modules that are available in that package. Is there a logical next step to extend some of the functionality that we're currently getting out of the system?
We're looking at getting the code violations up and running with that system as well, so they could be tracked through the View Permit system. They would be used by our blight enforcers and possibly by zoning and any of the other code enforcers that don't do the building code specific types of enforcement.
Scott?
Peter?
Having served on planning and zoning for a few years, we find that process to be very cumbersome and detailed and what have you, and I didn't know if your electronic application would apply to zoning applications as well?
I believe that zoning is using that now for certain kinds of
Just certain things?
processes. You'd have to probably speak with Roger O'Brien to see exactly which permits and applications they're doing. I know they show up on our list when we look at a property, for example. There are a number of items that have the prefix for various types of zoning and other types of permits, or P&Z hearings and so forth.
Yeah, it'd be nice if it was all electronic and you didn't have to come to town hall, unless you have big drawings you need to.
Yeah, that's the thing, when you
Present.
have plans, a lot of, even with our building plans, if it's a commercial property where you have to have, wet sealed, signed and sealed type of plans, they have to deliver those to our office. Sometimes they're brought in person, sometimes they're shipped in by FedEx or UPS.
Yep. But there's a lot of little guys out there, little businesses that could certainly benefit from an electronic system.
Yes, the companies that do a lot of things like electric service changes for residences, or they're changing water heaters or furnaces and boilers and things, they get to apply online without having to, come to the office. It helps reduce, the lines sometimes that we used to have at the office too.
Very good, thank you.
Donna?
I guess the large drawings, having them wet sealed, that's a state of Connecticut requirement.
That's a state requirement. They've made some changes to allow electronic submission, but you have to have the kind of software protocol that validates that.
Right.
To make it legal. It's not just like a PDF with a copy of the seal that's been
Correct, it has
stamped
to
on
be
Yeah.
digitally verified.
Digitally verifiable, yes.
But do
but
they have that in the state of Connecticut yet?
Yes, they do. They adopted it a while ago for engineers.
Okay.
Yep.
So it's just a matter of everybody catching up. But if somebody can do that, do you accept them?
We have accepted them that way. We get a lot of those on the smaller plans, especially things for like solar companies and so forth, because their plans are not as large as new construction plans for like a factory, for example. So they're easy to attach, they're easy to read. One of the things that we find is if you have a large set of plans and you're putting it on a screen on a computer, it's a lot of like looking through small parts of it at a time instead of being able to view the entire plan.
Yeah, so IT needs to upgrade your screen size.
We'll get one that's actual size, right? A 60-inch monitor.
48-inch.
Anyone else? Any other questions, comments for Jim? Then Jim, thanks very much for the update and the Q&A.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
You're welcome.
Okay, next item on our agenda is public communications and petitions. So if there's anyone in the audience wishing to address the council, this is your opportunity. Please raise your hand. I will call on you. Come forward to state your name and address for the record. Joe, you can be first. Please keep your comments to no more than 5 minutes. If you hit the 4:30 mark, I will politely ask you to wrap up your comments, and we ask that you please refrain from the use of personalities. Welcome, Joe.
My name is Joe Soros, 10 Briarwood Drive, Enfield, Connecticut. What I want to address the council with is something that's already been done and set, and that's the budget. And while I was at the meeting at Enfield High School, I picked up a budget book and I perused through it. And there was an area that I found that fascinated me, and it was called stipends. And I'm sure all of you are aware of them, and I'm sure they didn't get past you either. But in looking through them, I was amazed because I found one under 1500-0000 was $54,000. That's a big stipend. And when I went through all of them, I found out that the total came to $183,800. And the 5 top ones came to $109,352. This might be a pittance or, chump change to what you go through. And I appreciate everything that you've done in the past to keep our taxes down. And although the tax went up slightly, it has an effect on elderly people such as myself and others that fall under this. And every little bit counts. And I just wanted to bring it to your attention. And if you want the list, I'll give you the list with all the numbers. And I thank you for my time.
Thank you, Joe. Thanks, Joe. Public communications, Brian?
Good evening, everyone. Brian Delano, 5 Birchwood Road, Enfield. I'm here in representation of the American Legion Post 80 Baseball. I'm the vice commander of Post 80 and the general manager of the baseball program. And we got a couple of bodyguards on either side of us. You want to say who you are?
Yes, Christopher Ledger, 5 Wall School Road, Enfield, Connecticut.
He's our actual junior Legion baseball coach. But we're here for Fran Slattery, or everyone lovingly knows him as Coach. You haven't lived in Enfield or played sports since '65 through last year's season without having him as a coach at one point. He started coaching Hazardville Little League in 1965 and continued through until 1980 when he took over the American Legion program. And he continued coaching American Legion up until this past August. What most people don't realize is, besides loving the game and being able to educate our youth in more ways than one, he funded the program for many years out of his own pocket because he didn't have the support of the Legions in town because they didn't have the money or the means to actually support it. So he went out and he petitioned businesses in the community to help support that. But he used to take a good chunk of change, between $2,000 and $3,000 out of his pocket every year. Back in the 80s when I played for him, we never paid for anything. He never asked for money. He just wanted to make us happy and didn't want to impose any hardships on our parents. Real quick story, his brother-in-law used to spend about $15,000 a year on a country club membership down south. And when they went down there to visit one time, his wife was amazed on what her brother-in-law her brother-in-law was actually spending. So when they came back, Fran said, "Well, I'm going to get that country club membership up here." And she goes, "No, just keep paying for baseball. You'll be fine." But we really think that everything that he did, this would be perfect to honor him. And the Fermi Field has been Legion's baseball field since 1980. And we think it would be fitting. In addition to Legion baseball, he started coaching St. Martha's basketball from 1975 through up until last winter when he passed. So he was named to the Enfield Athletic Hall of Fame in 1998, the Connecticut Legion Baseball Hall of Fame in 2015. He received the Wentworth Good Sportsman Award by the Connecticut Sports Writers in 2014, the Enfield Jaycees Outstanding Citizen in 1991, and the list continues. So any consideration that you could give us on this, we would really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, I don't know if you guys can hear me. Fran was the epitome of what is right with youth sports whether it be in Enfield, Connecticut, or anywhere. Fran devoted a lot of his own free time to the sports, to teaching the young people in this town the right way to play the game. A lot of times coming back from away games at Legion, he would be driving by himself, getting home 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. I know I was exhausted. I can only imagine how he was as well. And it was a tremendous honor to be coaching with him. And this, as Brian said, this would only be fitting to have this field named after him in his memory. And last but not least, he did what a lot of coaches today don't do. He obviously is a gentleman on and off the field, but he coached with no skin in the game. His kids haven't played ball in how many years? I can't even guess how many years. But he did it out of the goodness of his heart, wanted to teach these kids, and had no kids to coach, but he just loved being around the kids. And I learned a lot from him being in the last couple of years, being able to coach with him, and it was an absolute pleasure. So we'd love to see this in his honor, be Fran Slattery Field at Fermi, and I'm sure the family would appreciate it as well. But thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Guys, you got anything to say? Okay.
Thank you.
Public communications, anyone else? Very good, we will move on to counselor communications. Counselor communications, anyone? Bill, you've got the,
Can I just?
go ahead, you're up.
Joe, thanks for running the numbers. I'm not going to give you a comprehensive explanation of what that is, but I'll tell you what one major part of it is. And it's something that it's a question that comes up every year because it does look ominous in the budget when you have just something kind of vague name as a stipend. What most of these dollars are, though, are a component of the benefits package that most employees, actually, is it non-union only?
Yeah.
Any of the non-unionized employees in the town of Enfield have part of their benefits package is labeled stipend in the budget. And I think we did ask this year that somehow that get changed going forward because it's very confusing to the public, and even when we're looking at the departmental level breakdown, it becomes confusing. There are things in the budget that are by union contract or by certain professions that are actually stipends, things like memberships in certain organizations that the town covers as part of someone's contract, or certain magazine subscriptions that a department receives, that would be under stipend. But most of these dollars are actually part of the compensation package, and they're very well defined by the employee group. So it's, and there's limits on what each employee can do with some of these dollars. They're used for, and I'm looking past you, Joe, to the HR director. They're used for things like the cafeteria reimbursement program, that's part of someone's health package, daycare reimbursements that are deductible under the IRS code, life insurance premium payments that are part of the benefits package here in town. So it's based on someone's salary. They get a certain amount of stipend allocated to them, and they get to pick how that gets utilized in the benefits plan. He has a follow-up. I'll talk to you offline if you want to go into more detail about it. But thank you. It's a known quantity, and it's something that's regulated by the amount of salary paid to those employees.
Well, at least gives me and everybody else here.
An answer.
Yep, and it's always something that we pick up during the season. And I think this year we probably went over it fairly quickly because we had just asked the question late last year. But thanks for raising it, and I'll get this back to you. Okay. Thanks, Joe. Secondly, I'd like to make a motion this evening and move to suspend the rules for the following items, to move them to miscellaneous and potentially proceed to a vote tonight. The items are A1 through A2, and then E, F, G, I, J, K, L, M, and N.
Motion by Deputy Mayor Lee, seconded by Counselor Falk. To move those items to miscellaneous, any discussion? Show of hands, all those in favor? Those opposed? Unanimous? Anything else, Bill?
That's all.
Peter?
Last week, I went to a meeting at the JFK. It was put on by Colleen Sullivan. And she's the prevention coordinator for the Town of Enfield Youth Services. And it was in conjunction with the Enfield Together Coalition. And the seminar was marijuana, weeding out fact from fiction. And it was presented by a psychologist, Alicia Farrell, PhD. Very interesting presentation that she put on, and it brought to light many things for me that I didn't know. But primarily, marijuana is an addictive drug, and it can have a negative impact on your brain and your body. And there's a lot we don't know about this drug. And the only thing that at this point in time that we can do is to educate the public and hope that the public uses a little restraint, especially the parents, and saving lives. An interesting thing that I did pick up was that because it's classified as a class 1 drug, the federal government doesn't allow anyone to do testing of this drug to know exactly what's in it and what effect it has on the body. There are some good elements in it that I guess cancer patients have used, and it helps them tremendously, but there's a lot of negative things in it as well. So I guess at this point in time, all we can do is keep educating the public and hope for the best. And maybe our legislators could do something about changing the law to allow, people to test it and come up with all the facts that need to be known about it, so that the general public can better understand what impact it has on their bodies. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Thanks for going. Anyone else, counselor communications? I just have two quick ones. First, our quarterly public informational meeting will be Monday, May 22nd, 7 o'clock at Enfield Street School. This is the open session Q&A. We moved it up a week because of Memorial Day falling on the last Monday of the month. So that's Enfield Street School, Monday, May 22nd, 7 p.m. Residents are encouraged to come and ask whatever question is on their mind. Collection of counselors and town staff. And then secondly, the Memorial Day Parade, sponsored by the Enfield Veterans Council, will be held on Sunday, May 28th, kicking off at 1 p.m. Along the typical parade route from the lawn of the Felician Sisters down to the Town Hall and then followed by a ceremony. So hope to see you at both. Any other counselor communications? Then we'll go to the town manager report and communications. Brian.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just real briefly, I wanted to bring to your attention that the town did receive a petition from the residents of Edgewood Drive with respect to some construction work that we have going on over there. I wanted to bring this to your attention. We're trying to convene the Public Works Committee. This has to do with the town's policy of replacing concrete sidewalks across driveways with the bituminous asphalt. So wanted to bring that to your attention to let you know that we did have that, and we are working to resolve that issue. Beyond that, I'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you may have regarding the project and activities report. And to the mayor's note about the Memorial Day Parade, I regret that I will not be in attendance. I will be in Ohio for my daughter's high school graduation. So I hope that the event is well attended and blessed with good weather.
Questions? Yeah. Questions for Brian? Tom.
On your report, the Enfield Schools upgrade, I see Paul's in the audience also. The new computers, the upgrade to the operating systems in the schools. I had a question if this was a part of the new, where we switched the cost over to the town for the leasing of administrative computers. as opposed to purchase, because the purchases were going on for some 10 years. Computers were outdated, so we actually took this service over for the schools, the town side, providing them with leases so those computers can be upgraded on a regular basis and repaired. Is correct. And that's all being rolled out.
Those computers are part of the 3-year lease.
And I'm sure it's coming out to some great accolades from the administration.
Yeah, we've had our first series of
So,
rollouts.
Paul, just.
Could you, please? Yeah.
Yeah, we need you to speak.
Just so we
at
can
the
hear about the
table.
operating system from what it was then to now, which I think it was XP, I think, too.
Yes, so the older computers that they had were originally XP, and we upgraded them to Windows 7 because of the security concerns. But this new set of computers that are coming in have replaced all of those older administrative machines that were primarily the principals, secretaries, the board of the administration over in Barnard, as well as counselors and the curriculum directors. So they've gotten all new computers that are state-of-the-art. They're on a 3-year lease that in 3 more years we'll replace them with the latest technology that's available then.
Now, for actual teachers themselves, was this part of the rollout too in the future for them?
Correct.
So
The teachers will be getting new machines in 18 months.
In 18
About
months. in the
halfway
same-
through theirs.
So 3-year lease, we flip them right around, any damage to them, the company themselves repairs them, so we don't
Correct.
have to?
Yep.
Yeah, awesome.
Yep.
Thank you.
Do you have a question for Paul?
No, I
All
thought
right.
it was done.
So.
That's it. Yep.
Thank you, Paul. Okay. Peter?
I was at the dedication at the high school Saturday, talked to some students, and interesting concept came up is, wow, this is a beautiful, brand-new building, state-of-the-art, technology, everything. I said, what about 5 years from now? Technology changes so fast that how do we keep up with this? How do we stay? And I imagine it would be up to the Board of Education to deal with that issue as far as the technology of the equipment. But that brings up a bigger issue, and that is we have buildings, sidewalks, school property, town buildings, they have roofs, they have heating systems, they have sidewalks, they have parking lots. Is there a master plan? Has any evaluation been done on the buildings and facilities that would put together a plan so that we could do repairs on a timely basis instead of being bombarded in 1 year with a gazillion dollars in improvements? So I don't know if anything like that's being discussed or a plan that actually exists or will exist. Hopefully the manager could comment.
Sure. I can tell you with respect to the high school, there was a presentation here, I believe it was made at the last meeting by the construction firm Gilbane for the software that they have that they're utilizing to operate that system that they're going to turn over to us. So a highly functional software package that will enable us to better monitor that system, to monitor that facility, and will provide us all of the information we need to be able to maintain that facility on a regular basis in accordance with the various user manuals and manufacturer recommendations of all of the various PP&E. On the broader scale, I can tell you that there's the council-appointed Joint Facilities Committee, which is comprised of Councilor Suzak and Councilor Davis, as well as members of the school board. And they are actually undertaking the task right now to look at and review and evaluate the various structures and facilities of the town to try and prioritize exactly what needs to be done and in what capacity it needs to be done so that we can begin to get caught up, so to speak, on the deferred maintenance that has gone on the last few years here. So that is an issue.
Town buildings as well?
Oh, it does, yes. Yes.
All buildings?
Yes, sir.
All school and administrative?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Good. Look forward to seeing that. Thank you.
Any further comments, questions for our town manager? Donna?
I guess, Brian, on the par, we have, I saw the skateboard park, the final design. Are we going to get a detailed presentation on that?
We can provide you with one if you would like. I believe Mary Keller The recreation supervisor did provide you a detailed PAR report on that, but if you would like to have a presentation by staff, we'll be more
Well,
than happy to
I
do
think
that.
so, and I think that, I did see what she had prepared, and there's what we can afford right now and what we would need to complete the park. And I'd like the council to kind of really look at that and, in mindset that, that park has lost a lot of services. There used to be a pool there. There used to be a lot of things in that neighborhood, and perhaps we might need to look at our budgeting and strategy and see if there's anything in our CIPs that could possibly be used to maybe complete this park, once and done, rather than, 75%, and we're waiting for the last 25%, and everything deteriorates in the meantime. So we could, before we make a final judge on what we're doing, see what we really want to go.
So, and then Brian, to Donna's point, and that was my email communication, is once the design came out, one of the pieces that Mary didn't hit in her PAR report was she mentioned the additional funding that would be needed to do 100% of the park, but there's no identified areas or recommendations for, say, reallocation of funding. And that's the piece that we would be missing and we would need to be able to make a decision.
So what I can tell you is that in conversations with the finance director and the deputy finance director, we're aware of at least 2 areas within the operating budget where we believe that sufficient funds would be available to fund the full construction of that project if that was council's desire. So based on the information that we did receive and the inquiries we did get from council, we did make a preliminary glance through the budget to see if there were funds available.
Okay. So then is that something that we would need to have on a council agenda?
Yes, so to make the money available for the skate park, that would require a transfer, so that would have to be authorized by council. So if it is the will of council, we can review that at the next leadership meeting and bring that forward on the next council agenda.
Good? Yes? Okay, awesome.
One more thing.
Go ahead, Peter.
Now that I'm retired, I spend time over at the senior center using the gym, and they have some really nice equipment there. But about a month ago, one of the 3 ellipticals broke, and there's a big sign on it, "Do not use, broken." And there are a lot of people that use that, and sometimes in the morning there's lines. So it's important that all that equipment be operational. So I didn't know if you were aware of it, and if you were, what is the plan going forward for either fixing it or replacing it? And if it requires money, can we do a budget transfer to make that happen?
Sure. I am unaware of that specific problem, but I will be more than happy to have a conversation with the director, Dawn Homer-Bouthiet, and her staff, and we'll find out exactly what's going on with respect to, how that equipment is funded and whether or not it's scheduled to be repaired or to be replaced. And we can pass that information on, and I'll do that later this week via email.
Thank you.
Sure.
Bill?
I got a note from Councilman Bosco this afternoon to ask to remind you about a couple streets that I think he claimed that he made this, maybe a dialogue that's ongoing, but for the DPW commission meeting later on this week, if there could be an agenda item regarding some streets that need some measure of repair. I think they were looking to see whether they were part of a CIP package or whether they were needed to be added to the wish list.
So based on my communications with Councilor Bosco, I'm aware of just 2 issues, which is one, this Edgewood Drive petition, that is one. And then he and Councilor Ludwig have been communicating with me regarding the water main issue over on Sword.
I was in on that one too.
Okay, Councilor Arnone was in on that as well. So the last communication piece that I had seen with respect to that was there was a request as to what the actual cost would be to repair that road, similar to what we're intending to do with Catalina Drive. So that is a subject matter for the staff meeting tomorrow. That request did come in, I believe it was late Friday, so we are following up on that as well.
Thank you.
Sure.
Anything else for Brian? Ed?
Yes, Brian, I didn't get a chance to email Debbie, but I'm available for that Public Works meeting Thursday at 3:30.
Terrific.
Thank you.
Anything else? Thank you, Brian. Next, Town Attorney Report and Communications. Chris?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. I'd just like to report that our forum that we had conducted last Wednesday at the Senior Center, I think, was a very good success. It was very well attended. It was very interactive. We had a lot of good questions that were asked. We had a good cross-section of the public. We had some council people. We had board members come, fire commissioners, even a planning and zoning member from a nearby town. And thank you for coming by, Mr. Mayor. It was a good collaborative effort, and I really wanted to just thank everybody. The manager had allowed all of his staff to help us, from Dawn and the Senior Center, Sue and Comey. His staff did a lot of work, did a really professional job in filming it, and got it right up within a couple of days on our website, on YouTube. And I think it's a nice asset to have people at home to be able to go on there and learn about the Freedom of Information Act. It was very interesting, even for me, who's been dealing with it for many years. A lot of good questions that brought a lot of good information. Mr. Hennick was very well pleased. He's the public education officer who conducted it. He actually said during it that it's unusual for towns to proactively do this for citizens, that normally it's ordered as a penalty by Freedom of Information for towns and cities that don't comply with the act or who are repeatedly found to have violated it. So I thought that was very heartening. So I'd like to just thank everybody. Also, I had just sort of thrown out there that we were hoping maybe to do other forums in the future on other topics that the citizens would find interesting. I told people to contact my office, and a couple people I spoke to that night and had since contacted us. And so 3 areas I think that might be very informative we're thinking of doing in the fall. I think it's important. A lot of, times, we can't do it now before the school is out, but parents want to have parties for their kids at home, take the keys, and have, in high school graduation settings, bring other kids over and sleepovers and whatnot. Sometimes there's alcohol, and I think it's important. Some had asked, what are the civil liabilities for that? What are the criminal liabilities for that? And there are a lot of questions. Sometimes it creates more problems than the issues that it solves. So I think we're thinking about doing that in other areas of parental responsibility for conduct of your kids that people aren't aware of. So we're thinking of doing that in the fall. Somebody had asked from actually one of the planning commissions to say, a lot of people don't understand the process. They get into it and they're just overwhelmed. So we're thinking of maybe doing a primer for the citizens with Roger O'Brien's office, have some of our zoning people and from building to say just sort of a how-to. How do you get a fence permit? How do you apply for a pool permit? If you're going to put an addition on your house, what is the process you go through? And sort of put it out there, and again, have it online, which I think is a good resource for people who then, if they're actually going to do it, don't have to actually come to the meeting, but they could access it. And lastly, I had a lot of requests for areas, and they call it elder law, but it's really estate planning, that people, as they, get to a point where they're empty nesters and they have their home and their income and they want to know about their estate and what should they do in regard to wills and healthcare proxies, things along those lines, powers of attorney, all that my office just attended, and all of that's changing in the law. But we have a large population of seniors in the town. I think that would be a very broad range of interest from our citizens, and we'd bring in some estate lawyers and experts in that area at no cost to sort of give the lectures in those and have forums and be able to talk to people when they're thinking about those important issues as they go forward. So those are just some of the things we're thinking of doing, and I again want to thank Brian and all of the staff that helped us do it, and the council support for letting us do it as well.
Great. Thank you, Chris. Any questions for our town attorney, Tom?
So on the social hosting law, which is with the, hosting teenagers in your basement on a graduation thing, Enfield Together Coalition, you may want to hook up with them on that because they've been really publicizing that for the last several years on the dangers of that for parents, for their houses, for the liability.
And they have a lot of information, and I think a joint PSA there
Yeah.
would be an awesome idea, so.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, we've talked about with police and also insurance agents for ramifications too, so I think it would be good, and we'll follow up on that, Mr. Arventelli. Thank you. Mr. Arnone.
That's okay.
Questions?
Thank you.
A few more syllables.
Legal status.
Questions for Chris? Thank you, Chris. Next, reports of special committees of the council, Enfield High School Renovation Building Committee. Any final comments, Gina?
Just really quickly
Donna?
for everybody who attended or people who didn't attend on Saturday, the dedication and the ribbon cutting was really nicely done. It was great to be able to have tours of the building going on. It's wonderful. I think everybody really excited about it. So, in the final stages.
I think for me, it was to see, it's really the first time we've invited the community in to a formal ceremonies, and to see the diverse, population that came down for this, and the pride that they had in seeing this building and the understanding of what we offer to our students in Enfield is just phenomenal. I mean, there aren't high schools that offer, the diversity of program that we do in Enfield. So we should all take a step back, and hold our heads up high and be very proud for what we're doing in the town here in Enfield.
Thank you. John F. Kennedy Pre-Referendum Committee, no report from the chair, who's in the audience. Any other reports of special committees of the council? Sensing none, we'll move to old business, and there's nothing marked for action under old business, correct? And nothing under new? Under items for discussion, all items have been moved to miscellaneous with the exception of the appointments that we're looking for folks for. And item K, which is the resolution to repeal Resolution 7774, establishing the Enfield Revitalization Strategy Committee. Bill, did you want to ask any questions on that, or just have it slide?
Well, for the council's sake, because this kind of sprung up this afternoon after doing some reading, I asked that we hold it until we have a fuller understanding about the portion of zoning code that refers certain design review tasks to the Revitalization Strategy Committee. And until we have I think we should just hold off until we have a sense that that's being picked up by Planning and Zoning Commission and edited appropriately, so that in the meantime, should an application come in that needs to be dealt with, we know that those folks can get the proper hearing, keep a project on track, and then in due course, move those duties over to the Development Commission and have them parse it out to the Revite subcommittee or a select group of rotating people, so they all have an equal opportunity to partake in that important design step. So for that purpose, I asked Brian if we could hold off for 2 weeks. Sounds reasonable.
Okay. All right, so we'll move to miscellaneous. First item under miscellaneous is the approval of the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? By Councilor Falk, seconded by Councilor Denny. Any discussion on the consent agenda? Sensing none, show of hands. All those in favor? Those opposed? It is unanimous. Next item is discussion resolution or request to transfer funds for information technology, $25,000. Resolved that in accordance with Chapter 6, Section 8F of the Town Charter, the following transfer is hereby made to Information Technology Services, $25,000. From Information Technology Salaries, $25,000. Certified the funds are available. John Wilcox, Director of Finance.
So moved.
By Councilor Arnone. Second. Seconded by Councilor Suzak. Discussion? Sensing none, roll call, please.
Counselor Arnone?
4.
Counselor Sakala?
4.
Counselor Denny?
4.
Counselor Edgar?
4.
Counselor Falk?
4.
Mayor Griffin?
4.
Deputy Mayor Lee?
4.
Counselor Suzak?
4.
There's 8 in favor, none against, and no abstentions.
Next item, discussion resolution, request for transfer of funds for code enforcement, $12,344. Resolved that in accordance with Chapter 6, Section 8F of the Town Charter, the following transfers hereby made to code enforcement: salaries, $11,466, Social Security, $711, Medicare, $167, from planning, salaries, $12,334, certified the funds are available. John Wilcox, Director of Finance.
So moved.
By Counselor Arnone.
Second.
Seconded by Counselor Denny. Discussion?
Just
Tom?
quick, is the season for code enforcement, so as we were reminded this week too, Click Fix, if you have any issues with any property owners or any issues with any blight, just get on Click Fix on our website and report it there. It'll what did I say? Oh, yeah, it's all right?
that's right.
Yeah.
It's good.
So get it, and it'll get right up to the top of the list just as fast as calling us. Thank you.
Maybe faster.
Faster, yes.
Any further discussion?
That's what I got out of the email.
Roll call, please.
Counselor Arnone.
4.
Counselor Sakala.
4.
Counselor Denny.
4.
Counselor Edgar.
4.
Counselor Falk.
4.
Mayor Copeland.
4.
Deputy Mayor Lee.
4.
Counselor Suzak.
4.
There's 8 in favor, none against, and no abstentions.
Next item, discussion resolution, request for transfer of funds for Youth Services Drug-Free Communities Grant, $18,776. Resolved that in accordance with Chapter 6, Section 8F of the Town Charter, the following transfer is hereby made to Drug-Free Communities Grant, Health Medical, $2,505, Travel, $10,000, Other Supplies, $6,271. From Drug-Free Communities Grant, salaries full-time, $17,501, salaries part-time, $562, stipend, $713. Certified the funds are available. John Wilcox, Director of Finance.
So moved.
By Counselor Arnone.
Second.
Seconded by Deputy Mayor Lee. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Counselor Arnone.
4.
Counselor Sakala.
4.
Counselor Denny.
4.
Counselor Edgar.
4.
Counselor Falk.
4.
Mayor Copeland.
4.
Deputy Mayor Lee.
4.
Counselor Suzak.
4.
There's 8 in favor, none against, and no abstentions.
Next item, discussion resolution dedicating the Fermi High School varsity baseball field. Whereas Francis Fran Slattery, a veteran of American Legion Post 80, devoted more than 50 years to coaching youth baseball and basketball, helping to shape the lives of thousands of Enfield youth. And whereas Fran Slattery was honored by the Enfield Jaycees with its Outstanding Citizen Award in 1990 and was inducted into the Enfield Athletic Hall of Fame in 1998, honors which have been hard-earned and very well-deserved. And whereas Fran Slattery was the recipient of the John Wentworth Good Sport Award from the Connecticut Sports Writers Alliance. Now therefore be it resolved, in recognition of his outstanding citizenship, the Enfield Town Council does hereby dedicate the varsity baseball field at Fermi High School in honor of Francis Slattery.
So moved.
By Counselor Arnone. Seconded by Counselor Edgar. Discussion? Tom?
Yeah, I had known Fran myself, and I was really fortunate to have him coach my son in CYO along with Brian. And he was just a great guy. If you had anything to do with youth sports and baseball, you couldn't help but meet him. He was always it was just a good coach. He was good to the kids. He was good to the parents. So really happy to see this. I'm excited for the family too.
Anyone else? So Brian, first of all, thank you for bringing this to the attention of the town. Definitely a very fitting tribute to Fran. Even if you were not a baseball player or a good baseball player that had the that had the ability to rise to the ranks and to play Legion ball. I knew Fran for many years just because of his involvement in the community, and with his family as well by his side all the time. And he helped build the Enfield Athletic Hall of Fame. And so you'd see him out on the golf course, you'd see him at the banquets, but most importantly, people saw him where he loved to be, and that was on the ball field or courtside. And these are some of the few things, the really good things, that in hindsight you wish you didn't have to do it, because unfortunately we lost Fran a couple months ago. But then the town can actually pause and reflect and say, you know what, we can do something to honor his legacy. And I know you're going to have unanimous support up here, and I know you have support of the counselors that are not here today. And we look forward to finding a common time when we can all meet with you folks and formally dedicate the field with the proper signage and ceremony that is fitting for a gentleman, a mentor, a father, coach, people that really looked up to him. So happy to be able to do this in his memory.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Sensing none, roll call, please.
Counselor Arnone.
4.
Counselor Sakala.
4.
Counselor Denny.
4.
Counselor Edgar.
4.
Counselor Falk.
4.
Mayor Copeland.
4.
Deputy Mayor Lee.
4.
Counselor Suzak.
4.
There's 8 in favor, none against, and no abstentions.
There you go.
All right. Next item, discussion resolution to repeal Resolution 1645, establishing the Enfield Clean Energy Task Force. Whereas the Enfield Clean Energy Task Force was established on January 3rd, 2012, by and through the adoption of Resolution number 1645. And whereas the Enfield Clean Energy Task Force reported completing its charge to the Town Council on August 27, 2012. Now therefore be it resolved by the Enfield Town Council that Resolution 1645 is hereby repealed in its entirety. Be it further resolved that the Enfield Town Council thanks those members of the Enfield Clean Energy Task Force, past and present, for their service and dedication to their community.
So moved.
By Councilor Arnone, seconded by Deputy Mayor Lee. He beat you out. Discussion? Sensing none, roll call, please.
Counselor Arnone.
4.
Counselor Sakala.
4.
Counselor Denny.
4.
Counselor Edgar.
4.
Counselor Falk.
4.
Mayor Copeland.
4.
Deputy Mayor Lee.
4.
Counselor Suzak.
4.
There's 8 in favor, none against, and no abstentions.
Next item, discussion resolution to repeal Resolution 2155, establishing the Town Council Board of Education Security Committee. Whereas the Town Council Board of Education Security Committee was established on March 25th, 2013 by Resolution number 2155. And whereas the committee was charged with developing and overseeing the deployment of school security officers, enhancing security improvements to the physical environment of the schools, providing for the review and update of safety protocols and emergency procedures. And whereas the committee's only outstanding charge is that of enhancing security improvements to the physical environment of the schools. And whereas the Joint Facilities Committee was established on March 21st, 2016, with the charge of reviewing and recommending appropriate improvements, including safety and security measures for all town and school buildings. Now therefore be it resolved by the Enfield Town Council that Resolution 2155 is hereby repealed in its entirety. Be it further resolved that the Enfield Town Council thanks those members of the Town Council, Board of Education, School Security Committee, past and present, for their service and dedication to their community.
So moved.
By Councilor Falk, seconded by Councilor Suzak. Discussion. Sensing none, roll call, please.
Counselor Arnone.
4.
Counselor Sakala.
4.
Counselor Denny.
Against.
Counselor Edgar.
Against.
Counselor Falk.
4.
Mayor Copeland.
4.
Deputy Mayor Lee.
4.
And Counselor Suzak.
4.
There are 6 in favor, 2 against, and no abstentions.
Next item, discussion resolution setting a public hearing to repeal Chapter 2, Article 3, Division 7 of the Code of Enfield. Whereas the Enfield Housing Partnership was established in 1988 to identify the need, opportunity, and availability of affordable housing. And whereas Connecticut General Statute, Section 8-33, 6FB, the enabling legislation provides that the establishment of such a partnership is entirely at the discretion of the town. And whereas the office of the town clerk reports the partnership has not convened in over 12 years. And whereas other groups, including the Enfield Fair Rent Commission and the Enfield Housing Authority, continue the purpose and objectives of the partnership. Now therefore be it resolved, the Enfield Town Council will hold a public hearing in the Enfield Town Hall Council Chambers, 820 Enfield Street, Enfield, Connecticut, on Monday, June 5th, 2017, at 6:50 p.m., to allow interested residents an opportunity to express their opinions regarding the repeal of Chapter 2, Article 3, Division 7 of the Enfield Town Code.
So moved.
By Councilor Falk, seconded by Councilor Denny. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Counselor Arnone.
4.
Counselor Sakala is out. Counselor Denny.
4.
Counselor Edgar.
4.
Counselor Falk.
4.
Mayor Copeland.
4.
Deputy Mayor Lee.
4.
Counselor Suzak.
4.
Counselor.
4.
Thank you. There's 8 in favor, none against, and no abstentions.
Next item, discussion resolution setting a public hearing to amend Chapter 26, Article 1, Section 26-35 of the Code of Enfield. Whereas the Town Council wishes to expand the membership of the Enfield Economic Development Commission, and whereas Connecticut General Statute, Section 7-136 allows for total commission membership of not less than 5 nor more than 15. And whereas the commission's current membership consists of 9 members. Whereas the town council would like to expand the commission's membership to 15 members. Now therefore be it resolved, the Enfield Town Council will hold a public hearing in the Enfield Town Hall Council Chambers, 820 Enfield Street, Enfield, Connecticut, on Monday, June 5th, 2017, at 6:50 p.m. to allow interested residents an opportunity to express their opinion regarding the amendment of Chapter 26, Article 1, Section 26-35 of the Enfield Town Code.
So moved.
By Councilor Falk, seconded by Councilor Suzak.
Did I make it?
That was a long one.
Yeah, it was.
Discussion? Sensing none, roll call, please.
Counselor Arnone.
4.
Counselor Sakala.
4.
Counselor Denny.
4.
Counselor Edgar.
4.
Counselor Falk.
4.
Mayor Copeland.
4.
Deputy Mayor Lee.
4.
Counselor Suzak.
4.
There's 8 in favor, none against, and no abstentions.
Next item, discussion resolution approving the adoption of 2 administrative assistant job descriptions. Resolved that in accordance with Chapter 7, Section 2 of the Town Charter, the Enfield Town Council does hereby amend the classification plan to include the following job descriptions for the town of Enfield for the following position. Add 1 administrative assistant, development services. Add 1 administrative assistant, information technology.
So,
By Councilor Sakala, seconded by Councilor Arnone. Discussion? Tom?
yeah, Brian, could you go over this too for the general public that think we're adding positions when we're actually not?
Sure. In short, what we're doing is we are reassigning positions that existed within our organization in the last budget cycle under different departments to departments or divisions that either do not have that position or are required to have that position. In this particular instance, both of these descriptions are very like and similar to administrative assistant positions that already exist within our organization, but do include some very specific language relative to either, in this instance, information technology or for the Development Services Director.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
So my only question, and I if I read this correctly, the only thing that was added was that bottom paragraph at the end of the job description that basically says that the duties are typical of the job description, but are not everything. And so we've had these job descriptions in place. We've added that last paragraph to these two.
Correct, and there are some other minor modifications, and the Human Resources Director can speak to those, but for instance here, I'm looking at the information technologies description. So we cut and paste insert that this position works under the supervision of the Chief Technology Officer.
Right.
We note within here, that I believe there's a reference in here, other job functions, assist help desk coordinator. So we add little items like that we know are project specific, but yes, by and large, these are relatively consistent descriptions throughout. So, Steve, is that an accurate description and summary?
He wants some FaceTime.
Good evening. Where's the camera?
Face for radio.
I don't want you to be confused that the last paragraph is in bold, but I've been putting that language in all the job descriptions because it really explains everyone's responsibility. When they say, well, that's not my job description, well, if it's reasonably related, then we're going to still ask you to perform that function. But the town manager is correct. We did add throughout all the job descriptions certain nuances consistent with each department, like information technologies. Both directors of each respective department went through the job descriptions and added information that they thought was pertinent to their department. So these are clean, updated. I had them blessed by the union, and they're ready to go.
Okay. Any further questions, comments? Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
And we can have roll call, please.
Counselor Arnone?
4.
Counselor Sakala?
4.
Counselor Denny?
4.
Counselor Edgar?
Against.
Counselor Falk?
4.
Mayor Copeland?
4.
Deputy Mayor Lee?
4.
Counselor Suzak?
4.
We have 7 in favor, 1 against, and no abstentions.
That completes miscellaneous. Next item on the agenda is public communications. Anyone in the audience wishing to address the council? Sensing none. Counselor communications, any counselor communications? Sensing none, a motion to
So
adjourn
moved.
by Counselor Falk, seconded by Counselor Sakala. By a show of hands, all those in favor? Those opposed? We are adjourned. Have a good evening.